Welcome, you're watching Head to Head. I'm Antonina Antosha with UATV. Last week, a first-of-its-kind corruption park has opened in Kyiv's Hryshko National Botanical Garden. At first glance, it may look like an amusement park, but the goal of the installation is much more serious: to educate the public about the most pressing issue of corruption in a fun and interactive way. The project is part of the European Union's anti-corruption initiative in Ukraine. To talk more about it, we're joined in the studio today by Eka Tkeshelashvili. She is the head of the European Union's anti-corruption initiative in Ukraine. Hello, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, good afternoon.
So tell me all about the idea behind such a unique project.
Well, the idea itself was very clear for us from the beginning. It related with the need and possibility to have a dialogue with the public. For education, for awareness reasons. But then the creative part of it was a product of intense set of brainstormings with our counterparts, the agencies themselves, anti-corruption agencies like NABU, ARMA, SFMS, just to find what was the angle that would have been the most interesting for the public. And then with the great partners that we had for the project, PR Group, Crescent Todorchuk, Media Platform, extremely creative guys who have helped us to develop the narrative, the content, but then this creative form of entertainment as well. So it was a combination of hard thinking and brainstorming for about 3-4 months even before we came up to the realization of a clear understanding what would have been this new creative way of bringing the information in the way to the public that would encourage dialogue with them. They engagement in this dialogue through the interactive way of getting information from the park and raising the confidence that the corruption can be fought against and it can be a successful fight, and how much it is important to have public's engagement in it so that it's a sustainable effort.
Okay. I have an opinion by Thomas Frellison, who is the deputy head of the EU delegation to Ukraine. Let's hear what he had to say about the idea.
We are convinced that the chosen format, which you can call edutainment, a mixture of education and entertainment, will help reach out to Ukrainian citizens and perhaps also be more able to reach out to young people than through some more traditional ways of doing so.
Speaking of such a format as edutainment, could you comment?
I think it is very effective tool for modern times, especially if you target younger generation as an audience, to grab their attention, engage in the activity, and then help them to be motivated on the issue that it wants them to be focusing their attention, basically. Edutainment, why as a combination of it? Yes, it is an educational effort. It's not just an amusement, as you mentioned it at the intro for the program as well. There is very deep, substantial information related to the concept of corruption, to the system of corruption per se. What are the reflections of corruption through the historic experiences as well as much as the global experiences in modern times? But more than that, what are the ways of fighting with corruption? Why it matters to do so? Why it matters in for everyday life of the citizens in every given country to be concerned about this issue and to have fight against corruption successful, so that the economic potential of the country is being fully realized. But to do so not through the lectures only, even though we'll have the lectures in the lectorium, not through the artifacts of the museum-like exhibition, not only through the symbolism of powerful art that we have in the museum, but all of it together, including the virtual reality elements of it as well, when you go to the park and you can actually feel what it means to be a detective of NABU, so that you can actually do an investigative action with the virtual reality gadgets, which allows you to feel the way how they work, how difficult it is to do even the investigation of a given room where you have to find evidences of a case, how hard it is to do what they do, and to feel inspired by their work and to respect it as well. Because what we frequently lack is an estimation of how much of a valuable work it is that are done by those agencies, how difficult it is to do so, and then to respect and support what they do, because they are, as we call them, superheroes of the fight against corruption.
What are the ways presented in the corruption park to actually fight corruption? What are the installations that teach our young generation how to fight corruption?
First of all, they give them information how system of fight against corruption works, how holistic it is when it comes to investigation, prosecution. We have an info in our installations that there is a missing element in the puzzle, which is an anti-corruption court. Because for that to be, so that you get this information in a holistic way. So it's not only one agency like NABU, for example, that is a sole superhero that has to destroy the corruption. No, but it's an important element of the overall system. How important is the work of the organization like ARMA, which many haven't heard even previously, maybe, because it's a very newly established organization, but these are the guys who are tracing capital, proceeds of corruption and organized crime so that they are coming back to the state when the state is robbed because of the corruption from those capital. The same goes with the management of confiscated assets, so that the same car that we have as a confiscated item in the park is not getting spoiled because it's just sitting somewhere there as a confiscated asset, but it's managed, it's sold in the auction, so that the state has a good value that comes back as a retribution to the damage that is inflicted by the corruption to the state and to the population because of that.
Okay. The most important message of the existence of the corruption park is that the corruption can be fought against. Can it be extinguished, though?
Extinguished, I think that it's could be an overestimated expectation at some point, because as much as we can be very creative and successful in fighting corruption, corruptioners are not dummies either. So there always are the ways how you come creative about developing something new. That's why it is important that the preventative side of corruption works as well, so that the regulatory system in the country, service delivery in the country is developed in the way that there are less loopholes that could allow as a prevention of that for the corruption to develop. So I guess that's an understanding of it, that if it is not fully extinguished, that does not mean that you are not successful. As much as you have predictability of the rule of law, you're already in the good spot as a country, because you already have the foundation of having a predictable environment for individuals to realize their potential, for businesses to operate freely and easily in the country, and with that, for the country to exploit its own potential for economic development.
What's going to happen to the installations after the park is closed?
Well, that's a very good question, because the way it is constructed, first of all, we're thinking of developing this project in at least one city in Ukraine, so that in the fall. So that is in the horizon. We might even think about prolonging the time frame for the corruption park in Kyiv. So instead of 3 weeks, to have at least 4 weeks for that. But some of the elements of the park, they can be disintegrated and still used very, very effectively. For example, virtual reality gadgets and then installations, they can be used by NABU independently from the park in the future for their own strategic communication and educational activities that they do with the school children, with the university, so with the students as well. So that could have a good effect on that. Some items are just artistic so much that we're thinking that we will be negotiating with the museums that we could grant these items for their use, like this exceptionally beautiful painting of the future of Ukraine done by famous artist Shumailova in the park. So it's something that needs to be sort of part of the artistic legacy in a way that we could leave behind.
That is great. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for sharing this and for what you're doing.
Thank you.
That was Eka Tkeshelashvili. She is the head of the European Union's anti-corruption initiative in Ukraine. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the rest.